Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for D&D today, we have our Jester mug with the pink hamster unicorns and lollipops and sprinkled donuts on it. And inside of it, we have Tension Tamer from Celestial Seasonings. Again, really good one for middle of the day, end of the day, sort of. I mean, honestly, if you wake up with a headache, it's pretty good for it too. But it's a nice sort of like neutral kind of tea to. I don't even really know what the end of that sentence was going to be. It's nice and neutral. I like it a lot. I've had it a lot, obviously. So let's go ahead and let's get into what we are talking about today. We are talking about, I guess not talking about, we are ranking, rating, grading. We are grading every single one of the available feats in 5th edition. Now, couple of ground rules with this thing first. One, I am only doing the feats that are official published material. That means no third-party stuff, no Critical Role stuff, nothing like that. Two, I am only doing the ones that are widely applicable, none of the racial feats from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It would begin to throw off the scale from the get-go with those if I were using them, so I'm not using them. Because three, the grading scale, the grading curve that I'm using them on are not how good they can be, but how good they probably are for your average individual. That means that it is essentially being graded on how good it would be if a barbarian walked up to it as in relation to how good it would be for a wizard who walked up to it. There we go. I don't know. I got there eventually, kind of. So it is not that, you know, these A-tier things are the best of the best of the best. They might be. They might be the best of them, and they probably are. But what it really is it is most useful for the most people. And if it is so wildly useful for a select group of people, and it isn't like wildly detrimental for others, then it probably got a pretty decent grade too. But it won't necessarily reach that like height of this is the best of the best of the best. So there are 63 of these feats. I'm going to talk pretty fast. Each of them is probably only going to get like 15-20 seconds because I do not want this episode to go too terribly long. So bear with me as I whip through these. Let me know which ones you think I get right, which ones you think I get wrong, because these are also all based on opinion. There's nothing, you know, particularly exciting about this other than I am excited to do it, but these are all just my thoughts on the feats that are in 5th edition. So let's go ahead, let's kick it off, running down the list here. Starting at the top, we're going in alphabetical order. Aberrant Dragonmark, I give it a C+. It's fine. There's nothing particularly exciting about it. It's a pretty niche kind of thing. It doesn't have a whole lot of wide application. Second, Actor. The Actor feat, I gave a B. This is really good for a roleplay heavy game or a roleplay moderate game. Past that, it's not going to be super useful for you, but it's good in those situations. 3, Alert, I gave it an A. Having the inability to be surprised, the fact that you can see, or things don't get advantage for attacking you from hiding, very, very good. Hard for opposing rogues. Next, Artificer Initiate, B. The Artificer spell list is pretty limited, but getting spells is always a good kind of thing. It's never bad to have more of those in your pocket. Athlete, gave it a C. It's fine. There's nothing, you know, overly stellar about it. It's really for your, like, more brawly, tanky kinds. You don't jump all that much, quite frankly. It's one of those things. Next up, Charger, gave it a B- because this thing, it has a lot of like caveats to it, but if you can pull them all off, it is a very good thing. And the ability to still attack even if you use your action to dash is not something to blink at necessarily. Chef, B-. It's good. It's not stellar. The ability to hand out treats that your party members can take as a bonus action to regain hit points, that is really where this thing shines. Crossbow Expert, A-. Only applicable if you are a crossbow person, or actually technically if you have ranged weapons, because you get that 5-foot disadvantage thing. But It is an absolute must-have if you have a crossbow. A- is sort of like the peak of where those type of feats made it to in this list. Next up, Crusher B+. There are 3 of these feats throughout the entire list here. This is the best of them, I think, because it is the one that grants advantage to all of your allies on attack rolls against the thing you scored a crit against. Defensive Duelist B-, requires a finesse weapon. Not phenomenal, and it uses your reaction, which is not great because action economy. Dual Wielder B. If you are playing that kind of character, the ability to dual wield one-handed weapons gets your damage up, and it gives you a little bit of an armor class bump, which is always good, but it is that really, really specific character type that you've got to be playing. Dungeon Delver B+. The advantage and resistance to traps is big if you're playing an exploration-based game, and it could be useful for pretty much anybody. It doesn't have to just be your rogue who's going to be your front person. Durable C+. It's good-ish. You have to be taking short rests for it to be worth anything, and you have to have a pretty high constitution modifier for it to be worth much of anything to you as well. Next up, Eldritch Adept B+. If you are a spellcaster, this is a really good one. The Warlock Invocations are really fantastic. I definitely recommend taking a look at it if you haven't already, but it is not necessarily going to be for everybody. Elemental Adept C-. The fact that you have to pick a single damage type in order to actually, like, get to use this is... I don't like it. I really don't like it. And the fact that it doesn't let you re-roll your ones, it just gives you a 2 instead, is irritating. And it doesn't overcome immunity, just resistance. Fey Touched B. Misty Step, fantastic spell. The ability to get another spell, also very good. It's one of those things where if you take a feat that lets you have a one-off kind of thing, it's great for that one-off, but then you're sort of stuck after that until you can regain that part of the feat. Fighting Initiate B-. You gain a fighting style. I have used it, don't get me wrong, but it is better to just look at your DM and say, hey, can I pick this up? Because that is really going to be what you get out of it. Gift the Chromatic Dragon B. This is good for your marshals in the world. It is a dragon-based thing for your marshals, really more than anything else. Not bad, but not stellar. Gift of the Gem Dragon, also B. This one, it gets the B for its ability to do some battlefield control. That shove with some damage attached to it can be very good. If somebody used all their movement getting up to you, they make one attack, you shove them away. Not a bad thing. Gift of the Metallic Dragon, B-. This one does not have... It's still good, but it doesn't have that little bit extra that the previous 2 have, which makes it fall a little bit lower on the list here. Grappler, D+. If you are playing this character, that's great for you. It is not going to be useful for pretty much anybody unless you have built specifically to be somebody who actually grapples and tries to, like, restrain people. Because the thing is, once you restrain the creature, you are also restrained. So, like, it takes you more or less out of the fight or puts you down on the same level as the enemy. Great Weapon Master, A-. Absolute must-have. If you use a great weapon, that is going to be most of your melees. Most of your marshals, some of your half-casters as well. It is a phenomenal thing for that, but it is just for them. But again, so good for them when they do need it. Gunner, C, just because you have to have guns in your campaign for it to be worth anything to you, really. Healer, B-. I like this feat a lot, but I also recognize that it's okay. It's not the greatest in the world. Stabilizing, picking people up, that's very good. However, it does still take an action to do. And then actually, like, healing somebody with the kit can only be done once between rests, and so that's a little bit less, fantastic. Heavily armored, C+. You get heavy armor proficiency. That's really it. So if that's what you're going for, great. But again, just ask your DM. Heavy Armor Master, also C+. The reduction in damage is good, but that's what you get from this one, really. Whatever. Inspiring Leader, B. Getting that, being able to give out temporary hit points is really great, but if you're in a roleplay heavy campaign, it is going to be a lot more relevant, probably. And if you're in a roleplay heavy campaign or a roleplay moderate, I guess, it is going to be one of those things where, like, pausing to do that is going to take up a decent amount of time from your party, and they're not always going to want to stop to listen to you for 10 minutes. Keen Mind, also B. The north thing, great. It's good for exploration. The time of day, fine, whatever. The big thing with this one is the ability to just remember stuff that happened in the last month. That is very useful, but as soon as that month elapses, you just like can't remember it unless you are actually taking notes. So you got to take some notes. After that, lightly armored C as well. You gain proficiency in light armor. Congratulations. Again, just kind of ask your DM if it's something you're trying to train towards. Linguist B-. The big thing with this one is that while yes, it is useful to have more languages, sometimes, and by sometimes I mean often enough, there is somebody who has comprehend languages or tongues around, and it's just going to be more useful to do that than it is to have you be able to just randomly speak more languages. It just is. Sorry. Lucky A+. Lucky is one of the absolute top tier feats in this game. It is, you know, everybody can use it. There is no drawback to having it pretty much ever. I cannot do anything other than recommend it to people because it is very, very good. It's not my favorite, don't get me wrong, but it is so good. Mage Slayer B+. I know there is some hate for Mage Slayer in the world. I am a champion of Mage Slayer. I think that the disadvantage on concentration checks is stellar, especially if you're going against somebody who has Warcaster, because it really undercuts them all of a sudden. It really shakes them. Plus, if you get to pair it with Sentinel, which I know I haven't talked about at all at this point, I'm not really looking at pairing feats, but like if you can pair it with Sentinel, it is an absolute mage killer, straight up and down. But it in its own right is so good because you can just trap people against you and make them hurt for it. Magic Initiate B. Having spells, always good. The problem with Magic Initiate is that you cannot cast those spells with other spell slots if you have those other spell slots. It is specified in other feats that you can do that, so that is the drawback with this one. But the fact that you get to pick from any of the spell lists that you want, and once you pick from a spell list, you get to pick out of that spell list, is really, really great. Martial Adept. Also B here, because for your martial characters, this is kind of like your Magic Initiate. Getting a Battlemaster maneuver is a really fun kind of thing. I am a big fan of it. Even if it is only a one-time thing, it still ranks up with B for me. Medium Armor Master B-, because it is giving you a little bit extra armor class, and most importantly, probably, you don't get disadvantage from having that scale mail on. That is a pretty big one, quite frankly. Metamagic Adept B+. This is, I honestly almost put this one at A- because I wholly believe that every single caster should have it. However, I know that it is a little bit less useful than your Great Weapon Master type deal, because you do get a limited resource with it. However, Metamagic is my favorite mechanic in the game to be able to play with, so Metamagic Adept gives you a little bit of that. Always a good thing. Mobile B. This thing, just the speed boost alone is good, but the fact that the reason that it sits at a solid B is that if you make a melee attack against something, it cannot get opportunity attacks whether or not you hit, and that is fantastic if you are somebody who gets stuck in base-to-base with people a lot and you sometimes just need to get away. Moderately armored, proficiency in medium armor. Congratulations. It's like the other armors. It's just fine. Just ask your DM and they might just give it to you anyway. Mounted Combatant C-. So hyper-specific. So wildly hyper-specific. However, if you are in that specificity, then congratulations. It is a good feat for you to have. But again, you gotta be in that tiny niche that actually fits this here feat. Observant B. Personally, I rank it way higher. I love having at least halfway decent passive perception. But this is really great for your roleplay heavy to moderate campaigns, moderate to heavy campaigns, where reading lips is actually a possibility that you could have. I really like that. Plus, the bump to passive perception is always a good thing to have. Most people can benefit from it. Piercer B-. This is the one that of the trio, the bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. This is the one that I don't like quite as much because you just get to roll 1 additional damage die if you crit, really. And you can re-roll 1 damage die on your attacks, but like it's not my jam. It's not my preferred feat for piercing weapons, or for weapons, I guess. Next up, Poisoner, B-. Poison is just, it's such a mediocre damage type in the game because so many things get immunity to poison, which this does not overcome. However, those that don't, the fact that you can make them poisoned is very good, even if it is a DC of only 14 to try and resist that. Polar Master, B-. This is actually, I think, a very, very good feat, but it is only good for those who are using a polearm type weapon. But if you are using a polearm type weapon, this is the feat for you, I promise. This is what you want to have. But for your average adventurer, this isn't going to be it for you. I'm sorry. Resilient, B+, actually, because everybody could use an extra saving throw. They just could. I think that this one gets a lot more hate than it should. Magic users, you could pick this and pick Constitution, and boom, suddenly you got concentration checks way higher out of nowhere. If you're somebody who finds themselves continuously being lifted into the air, or you know, you're really bad with your dex saves, this is for you. Just take it. That proficiency is going to come back and save you. It will help you stop being mind controlled, etc., etc. There's a lot of really good uses for your saving throws. This is a good feat for that. Ritual Caster, B. While yes, you do not get to just like cast spells willy-nilly, the ability to gain more spells after the fact with this one is what puts it at a B. If it was just you learn 2 ritual spells, it would probably be sitting down in C tier, but the fact that you get to find wizard spellbooks or scrolls or something like that and then pick them up as well bumps this one up, because it means that you can actually build out a spell list with 0 spell slots. Savage Attacker, B. Savage Attacker, not a bad thing, especially if you're playing somebody that rolls a lot of dice for your attacks. Be like, you know, your rogues, your barbarians, your fighters, etc. Being able to re-roll and just pick which of the higher, or take the higher damage, is a really good type of deal, but it is really only for those guys. Sentinel, A-. If you are playing a melee character of any sort, or a character that does any sort of melee anything, this is for you. Even if you're like a wimpy little wizard and you've got something that is immediately around you, you've got some kind of aura, and somebody is trying to run away from you to get out of it, you can take your fist and you can punch them and make them stop moving. That is a real thing that is possible with this feat. Sentinel is so good. It is absolutely necessary for anybody that ever physically contacts another creature of any type, really. Shadow Touch, B. Similar to Fey Touch, the invisibility with this one is so good. Being able to be invisible, so good. Really, with both of them, the fact that it is a limited school of magic choice for your other spells is what brings it down a little bit, but also a very, very good utility spell that you get tack onto it for no real extra charge, so definitely not a bad thing. Sharpshooter, A-. Absolute must-have if you're playing a ranged character of any type, really, but especially if you're playing a bow-based character. This is your bread and butter through and through. Next up, Shield Master, C+. This thing is fine. It's truly fine if you are somebody who has a shield and wants to bash people with it, which makes you not a cleric or a druid. Druids can't use shields, I don't think, actually. You have to be a martial character to really use this. Which is fine, nothing wrong with that. It is not for everyone. Skill Expert, B. This one is a very narrow feat, but it does get you something really good, which is expertise. As I have mentioned many times before, I think that expertise is one of the better features in the game, so the fact that you can actually just take a feat to get expertise and be really, really good at that one thing, absolutely sign me up. Skilled, also B. 3 skills of your choice, definitely not a problem. Not a bad thing in any capacity. It just does not give you, you know, the little extra bump that I want it to. I want it to be 4 skills or something, but that just might be me being greedy. Skulker. C. This is really only for your skulky characters. It's for the rogues and the rangers of the world who spend a lot of time in the shadows. Obviously other classes too, but it's for them. It's not for you know, the fighter in heavy armor, the barbarian who sprints in, nothing like that. It is for those sneakers. Slasher. B. This thing, or this one is solid. It is the last of the damage type ones that as I have dubbed them so far. This one giving the creature disadvantage on their attack rolls is not a bad thing, but it is a lot more situational than giving everybody else advantage against them. So B. Spell Sniper. C+. This one was tricky. I almost gave it a B-. It is so close in my mind. So close to being in that B range, because it does a similar thing to what Sharpshooter does, except for the fact that if you are using it, you are not necessarily going to be stuck using attack roll things. If you are using Sharpshooter, you are only using attack rolls. If you are using Spell Sniper, you likely have access to area of effect spells, things that require saving throws, seeking spells, anything like that. So this is a little bit more situational. However, when it is useful, it is so useful. And the extension on it is very good. Absolutely very good. Strixhaven Initiate. D. I've talked about it. I don't like this feat. This is a bad reskin of Magic Initiate to me. I don't like it. I think it's bad. I think that it is not worth having at all, really. And it's setting specific too, which is even more irritating to me. I wish that they hadn't done it that way. Strixhaven Mascot. D+. This thing, it's fine. In fact, if it weren't tethered to Strixhaven Initiate, it might even be up in C, because the thing that you get to summon with it is actually not bad. The things you can summon with it and the way that you can interact with it, not actually that bad. However, the fact that you have to have Strixhaven Initiate makes it worse, because you have to have then committed 2 different ability score improvement chances to get to this point, and it's not worth that. Tavern Brawler. C. This one is very good in the hyper-specific situation. Again, very specific, where you are using a lot of improvised weapons. It is not worth the unarmed strike thing anymore, because you can just take Fighting Initiate and get the unarmed fighting style to get a D8 instead of a D4. But if you find yourself making a lot of improvised weapon attacks, this is actually going to be kind of useful for you. And the fact that you can use a bonus action to attempt to grapple something if you have nothing else to do with your bonus action is actually not that bad. Telekinetic. A-. This one, very good. The fact that you have the ability to manipulate the battlefield as a bonus action on your turn is really what pushes this up. Anybody can use that, even if Mage Hand as a cantrip is not going to be super useful for, you know, your barbarians or something like that. But, and it actually might be. It probably is, because Mage Hand is one of the better cantrips in the game, in my opinion. But Telekinetic, A-. Telepathic, B+. The fact that this thing doesn't open a 2-way street of communication is why it doesn't have the equal rank to Telekinetic. But the fact that you can talk to people in their brains is super helpful, because it does allow you to sort of like give instructions without having to actually speak out loud. My players recently have found a very good use for Rary's telepathic bond, for good reason too. Tough, A+. Tell me that somebody doesn't need more hit points, and I will call you a liar. Everybody could use more hit points, and as you go up, this one gives you a constant stream of +2 per level, leaving you with an additional 40 if you make it all the way to 20. 40 is a lot of hit points. It takes a wizard with decent constitution probably 7 or 8 levels to hit 40 hit points. Honestly. My sorcerer, who has a very good constitution, and I tend to do really well on my hit point rolls, he just hit 40 at level 6. Like, 40 hit points is a lot. Warcaster, A-. Not useful if you don't cast spells, but if you cast spells, this is it. This is everything you want in a single feat right here. The advantage, the ability to just cast without having to drop stuff. It's so good. It's so good. You can't not have it if you're a caster. Weapon Master. I wish I was going out on a better note here, but D+. This thing, it is lackluster, to say the least. There's nothing really super special about it. You just get proficiency with some weapons. Again, just ask your DM. They'll probably be okay to give it to you. And that brings us to the end of our feat grading here. Let me know what you guys think, because, again, all these are opinions of mine based on reading the way that I understand the game, using them in games, all of that stuff. So let me know what you think I got wrong, what you think I got right, because I genuinely do want to hear from you. But with that being the end of that, let's get into the shows that we have today. It's Monday, so in no particular order, we have The Paper Dungeon, Chromatic Dice, Beyond the Realms, Unprepared Casters, Greetings Adventurers, Bards of New York, Hapless Heroes, Aowen Adventures, Cast Party, Three Black Halflings, Heller from the Magic Tavern, King Leo D&D, Antiheroes Anonymous, The Tabletop Tavern, Top of the Round, and League of Lady Adventurers. Go check them out. Let them know that I sent you, because, again, someday somebody's going to say something to me about it, and I'm going to think that it's funny. And actually, before I forget, weird little, like, mini announcement kind of thing. Coming Together Naturally, after a hiatus, has started posting their episodes again. And the first one that they posted, the one that they posted on Friday, is my first guest episode. I'm guest on there for 2 episodes. They posted the first one that I am in, so go check that out. That is Coming Together Naturally, wherever you get your podcasts. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time playing my little gnome man. So go check them out. Send them some love. They post every other Friday, I believe it is. But my episode for them is up. So I've done a lot of talking. With all that said, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the episode description. Yeah, that's it. So with all that said, everybody, thank you so much for indulging me. Don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.